Alright, welcome back to another NTE video. I'm pretty sick right now, so we're not going to do a character guide. Instead, we're going to be talking about the Esper cycles that are currently in this game. It's what you're going to want your build your teams around, and if you're having trouble with some of the content in the game, it could be that your characters aren't built high enough, but it also could be because you're not taking full advantage of the Esper cycles. So we're going to go into our team formation, and we're just going to go over the cycles and then pretty much just how to build a team. This is for newer players or those that are having some difficulties. Some players who have been playing for a bit and already know about this is just going to be a refresher if you do end up watching this video. But let's get straight into it. So first of all, we have quite a few different elements here. We have Cosmos, we have Anima, we have Incantation, Chaos down here, Psyche, and then Lakshana. When two adjacent Espers are on the same team, they're going to cause a specific reaction. So as we can see here, if we have Cosmos and Lakshana, then we are going to activate the Remora status effect, I guess you could call it. Pretty much what happens is that when Remora is triggered, so when you go from Lakshana into Cosmos or Cosmos into Lakshana, it's going to activate Remora. So the target enters Remora for 5 seconds after triggering the Esper cycle, and it slows down their movement and attack speed. And then certain characters have enhancements based on the reaction that they're doing. So Hathor, for instance, extends the target's Remora duration to 12 seconds instead of 5, and increases crit rate by 10% when allies are attacking a target affected by Remora. Pretty solid, right? Now, they don't only have one reaction, like one element can only do one reaction, because as we see here with Blossom, this is a reaction between the two adjacent Espers being Anima as well as Cosmos. And what this one does is it generates a Vita Bud, which is pretty much just like a cluster of like wind or so, and it shoots out like petals, like flower petals that do damage. The Vita pistols then fly towards targets within range, exploding every 2 seconds, dealing damage to the area. Up to 3 Vita Buds can exist on field at once. Nanali's passive for this specific Esper reaction is that she fires 10 Vita pistols with Vita Bud, reducing the interval between each shot to 1 second instead of the 2 seconds. And GUN is able to spawn 1 additional Vita Bud and increases Vita Bud limit on field to 6 instead of 3. So having these two on the same team in addition to a Cosmo character like the MC is going to buff the amount of Vita Buds that are available on field as well as the interval in between it attacking, which is pretty solid, right? This is having Nanali and GUN on the same team as a Cosmos character is going to activate Blossom and level it up even higher, right? So if you're having a Blossom team and you have GUN and Nanali, toss them on with the MC and you guys are going to be doing a lot more damage because the Vita Buds are going to be more and the Vita pistols are going to shoot out faster. And then we have the third tier, right? So we already talked about Remora and we already talked about Blossom. But now when both of those are activated at the same time, we get Charge, which grants the active character 10 additional ultimate energy when Vita pistols hit targets affected by Remora. So right off the bat, if you're having a team with both of these in addition to the Lakshana character, so a Cosmos, Anima, as well as Lakshana character, and you trigger both Esper cycles or Esper reactions, you're going to get Charge, which is going to be an extra buff on top of that. It's like this reaction is like having a 5th character on your team that is just a battery, right? So these reactions will take a team from doing some solid damage to feeling like you're having like 5 or 6 characters, and like one is just an AoE character that constantly shoots out anima damage, and the 6th character is like a battery for your team, constantly generating ultimate energy for your characters, right? Something like this is very, very good for an AoE team, especially with GUN being able to group enemies and Nanali being a really strong damage dealer. It's like even when Nanali is on field and you're not able to group enemies or do AoE damage, those Vita pistols are still going to be doing damage to like the entire team, right? It's insane. And then on top of that, we have Stain, which increases Lakshana damage and Psyche damage taken by enemies by 20% for 12 seconds after obviously triggering the Stain Esper cycle. I mean, when you're wanting to build a team, you should really look at these reactions. Just toss a bunch of random characters on a team and see if their elements are adjacent, and then build your team off of that specific Esper reaction, right? At the very base, like, I do build the team with specific characters that could do specific things. Like, we're getting damage reduction with Fadia. We're getting energy regeneration with GON, as well as grouping potential. We're getting the really fast Esper cycles with our MC, and then Hathor is our main damage dealer, which also has some AoE potential with her. But on top of that, we're also getting Remora, we're also getting Stain, we're also getting Charge and Blossom, which is going to take this team from an okay team to a pretty solid team for more difficult content in the game like Ghost Train and the higher level anomalies. Now we could also go into a team that only holds 3 Esper attributes. So this one we have Nova, which we actually talked about in our Fadia guide, which if you guys want to learn how to play Fadia, everything you need to know about her, there will be a little thing right here that you can click on after, of course, you watch this video. So when Nova is procced, it inflicts Nova on the target for 5 seconds, and after that 5 seconds, they take a massive amount of mental damage, right? So right there, building a team off of Nova is pretty cool, right? But on top of that, there's also another reaction, Scorch. And Scorch is a damage over time Esper cycle, right? So once you activate Scorch, they're going to be taking damage over time. And then once you activate Nova, after 5 seconds, they're going to take massive mental damage. But if you activate them both within the same time, so they're both activated at the same time, you'll get Discord, which deducts a percentage of the target's break when they're simultaneously affected by Nova and Scorch. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to have characters of these 3 elements, so then you're able to activate Discord. Now, you don't need to build your teams in this specific way, but it is important to understand that these 3 Esper reactions do exist, being Discord as well as Charge, right? And it would kind of be a pretty big damage loss if you weren't building your teams around these 2 reactions. The only problem, though, is that it is a little bit difficult to get characters to be able to proc these at the same time, so you're going to have to find a way to stall certain reactions from happening, so then you can have them happen with the other one simultaneously. So then you're able to proc Discord or proc Charge, which is going to increase your overall damage as well as your energy regeneration for ultimates in the case of Charge. So when building a team, although you don't have to focus on these 3 Esper element or Esper attribute reactions, it is important when building a team that you take these into consideration. See, a team like this will still do some solid damage. I mean, we have our MC moving into GON and GON moving into Chiz, or Cheese. I don't really know which one it is. And we are doing Blossom here, right? We're using GON to group the enemies in, so then we can switch into Chiz and do our ultimate and pack out a lot of damage. And although Haniel does not proc any Esper reactions here, she is here because she's a solid damage buffer, right? She increases... She's talking a lot, goodness. With her E ability, she grants the team an attack bonus based on Haniel's base attack while Hootie is active. So we pretty much switch to Haniel, we toss Hootie onto the field, and then we do our rotation with our other 3 characters being our MC, Chiz, as well as GON. And then once Haniel's Hootie is off field, once the duration's over, we just swap back to her, pop that on, and then continue working on our team. You know, that is a viable way of using it, and we're just focusing strictly on Blossom and really fast rotations between these 3 characters. This team does work, but we're missing out on a lot of damage that we could be having with a team like this, where we have the ability to proc Charge, right? Really simple video. This isn't like game changing or anything like that. I know a lot of you already know this information, but it is good to keep in mind when you're building teams and when you're trying to max out Ghost Train, that you're taking into consideration that there are these 3 element reactions that will help you and your team out with the more difficult content in this game. Again, I'm sick. I would make a whole character guide, but honestly, my voice, I feel, doesn't sound very good, and my nose is really stuffed, so I can't make a character guide, but this is important, and I think some people might be sleeping on it, and some people just, you know, might have a few hours, or, you know, might have like 30 minutes to hop on the game, like use their stamina and then hop off, and then on the weekends maybe they, you know, are able to do a little bit of the Ghost Train stuff like that. They're like, dang, this is difficult content. And it's not because you're building your characters wrong, it's because you're building your teams wrong, and you're not building your teams around these reactions. So that's all I had for you guys today. My name is Topi. Thank you all for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.